Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Book Club. We have an interesting read to talk about today. It's more of one of those self-help, finding your own happiness type of a book, and it was quite interesting, so I'm excited to talk about it. The name of this book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a. The subtitle of this book is A Counterintuitive Approach to Living a Good Life. And from what I learned in psychology class, to live a good life, you have to pursue happiness. But there are a lot of different elements that go into it, and this book describes that whole journey for the individual with some awesome examples. So let's dive into this book right now. First things first, overall, before I even read this book, I got a lot of mixed reviews. My sister said it was good. She actually is the one that got me this book, so thank you, Rachel. One of my other friends said it was too superficial. One of my best friends said that it was an okay read, but nothing to write home about. So a lot of different opinions, and I was excited to read this so I could compare my opinion to theirs. This book was written by Mark Manson. He's a blogger that after college didn't really know what he wanted to do, got stuck in the 8-to-5 life and said, no, this is not for me. So he quit his job and pursued an internet business that led him to writing this book and a ton of other things as well. So you learn a bit about his journey in this book, as well as the process that he used to find his own happiness and how he can create that in his life. The first chapter is all about not trying, which sounds counterintuitive because of course you have to give effort if you want to accomplish any goal. However, it's what you choose to try about that matters. If you want to be successful in something, you're not going to give your effort just to be a success. If you do, you're going to fail because you have to have some end goal that you're aiming for, whether that's your own happiness, whether that's trying to learn so you can become more well-rounded, whether that's to help other people. You have to have some goal, some unit that you measure success by, because if you're trying to do something just to be successful, it's not going to work out for you. Ultimately, this first chapter helps explain the title of this book, because there's so many things in life happening around you, happening to you, that cause you to have certain emotions. So you have to make the decision on what you actually care about. The sad part is, so many people care about way too much. If the waiter was rude to them at a restaurant they were just at, if they ended up missing their flight because something or some issue was wrong with the plane. Those things don't matter, but when you care about those things that don't matter, you waste your energy on caring about things that don't matter, and you don't have enough energy to care about the things that do matter in your life. So really, that's what this book is about, saying stop caring about the stupid stuff and start caring about the things that matter. And if you do that, if you prioritize correctly, you're going to be living a much better life. And that is so true. I completely agree with that. Prioritization in your life will make you a better person and make you a different person. Organization is key in your mentality, in the way you live your life, in the way you structure your schedule, will help clarify a whole lot. And that will be better explained as we talk about this book a little more. There's one quote that I pulled out from this chapter. It's my favorite quote from the entire book. You will never live if you're looking for the meaning of life. Think about that for a hot second. If you're so busy looking for the meaning of life, which so many people are, that you're not going to be able to live because you're wasting all of your time searching for the meaning and you're missing the meaning the whole time because you're not experiencing life. And that's what it's all about. Working with others, helping people, experiencing happiness, learning, expanding your mind. All of those things are the meaning of life in some form or another, and you're going to miss out on all of them if you're continually just searching for the meaning of life. And that's why prioritization, again, comes into play so that you know the things that you should put effort into, those things that you should care about. The good things in life don't come easy. That's a random quote that people throw around way too often, but don't actually look into the deeper meaning of it. Think about it. The awesome things that you experience don't end up coming easy. They're difficult, they're challenging, they're stressful. Sometimes you have to cry about it. But when you get to the end of it and accomplish your goal, how amazing does it feel? One simple example is college. It's super difficult. It's 4 years long. There's tons of exams and papers and all that kind of stuff that you have to work through. Plus, it costs a ton of money that you have to end up paying off, which is stressful at the end of it. But after all of that intense stress, you end up meeting some of the best friends that you're going to have for the rest of your life. You get amazing knowledge that's going to help you land your dream job. And all of that, it's not an easy road, but that end goal, that end thing that you're trying to accomplish is fantastic. And think about it, as you walk across that stage and get that diploma, your family, your friends are cheering you on, you end up snagging that job that you're super excited to start and you make money. That's awesome. It's an awesome feeling. And then you know college was worth it because of all of those different aspects that end up combining together. Not caring about the trivial things in life does come with an equation, so this book says. Let me read it to you. It doesn't mean being indifferent, it means being comfortable with being different. You have to not care about adversity. You first have to care about something more than adversity. Whether you realize it or not, you're always choosing what to care about. That last point is so important to me because by default, you're ultimately choosing things to care about. By selecting one thing to care about, if it's trivial, that means you're choosing to not care about that other thing that may be more important to you. So ultimately, you have that choice. You have to make the choice to care about those things that matter, that are going to make you a better person, that are going to help you accomplish the goals that you want to achieve. It comes down to a choice. And now that you know that, be more aware and think about it more regularly. Now we're starting to dive into some of the other chapters now. But defining happiness is one of these elements. How the heck do you define happiness for yourself? That's one step. But there's another portion of this that's really important that I'm going to read to you very quickly. To be happy, we need something to solve. Happiness is therefore a form of action. It's an activity, not something that is passively bestowed upon you. How nuts is that? Happiness is an action. You can't just be sitting around because if you don't have anything to solve, if you don't have a challenge, if you don't have a goal, you're not going to achieve happiness. No matter who you are, what you're interested in, there's always going to be some challenge that you have to solve or accomplish to end up being happy. Whether that is playing video games and drawing a large audience and beating the game, or whether it's having a library and trying to read all of the books that you have on a certain topic. Maybe you're in the corporate ladder and that goal is to getting to be CEO of the company that you're a part of. It's all different for everybody, but to achieve what makes you happy, whether you know it or not, is going to be a struggle and take a lot of effort. So it's just important that you understand that, and that happiness ultimately is an action that you have to go out and do. So freaking go out and do it. That means true happiness can only be achieved when you find the problems you want to solve. Because regardless, you're going to have problems in your life, whether it's not enough money, maybe your friends are mad at you, maybe you don't have the job that you want, maybe you can't buy the car that you want. There's problems all the time. But to actually be happy, you got to find those problems that you're okay solving, that you're happy to fight through. Even though it's going to be a struggle, you know, ultimately, you're going to still be in a good place because you're excited about the outcome, so you're excited about the journey. Life is about the freaking journey. It's not the end destination. Sure, you get there, you're going to be happy, but that journey is what influences that happiness. So find the problems that you're going to be happy to solve, that you're going to be energized to solve so that you can ultimately reach that goal. One example of that is marriage. Finding the person that you want to marry, that's one issue that you have to solve. But once you make that agreement to get married, to spend the rest of your life with somebody else, it's not going to be freaking easy. That is for sure. You see it in movies. A lot of you that are going to watch this video probably already understand that. But you know that you love that person. You want to be with them for the rest of your life. So you work together through those problems because you want the end goal of being together. That's what makes you happy. So even though it is a stressful time when you're fighting with your spouse, you know that you're okay with those challenges. You're ready to fight for those problems because you want to ultimately stay together. So that's just the perfect example of how to express that topic. So this is great. You now understand that happiness is a journey, that you got to understand the problems that you're facing in life and choose the problems that are going to ultimately make you happy because you're okay with fighting through that journey to get to your goal. That all is great, but you need to be self-aware to even start this process. And there are 3 layers of this onion, so says Mark, and here they are. First layer is just understanding emotions in general. Know that, okay, right now I feel happy. This is one emotion. Or maybe I'm sad now because something happened to me. That's a different emotion. That's important to understand the emotions that you have. Next, why do you feel that stated emotion that you have? Now that you're aware of them, what is causing that? Do you know why you're sad? Do you know why you're happy? What's influencing that? The third layer is knowing why you hold that to be true. So if we're thinking about the emotion of sadness, you realize that's a feeling that you have. Okay, that's good. But then you have to start breaking it down by each layer and figuring out what is causing it, but then why do I feel sad when that thing happens? Is it because you value the relationship that just broke off? Is it because it makes other people sad, so you think that you also have to be sad? Understanding emotion is difficult, but you have to take the time to sit back and actually start thinking about them. Know why you feel them, what you feel, and what's causing you to feel that way. Just starting to think about those questions will make your self-awareness much easier and much more focused, which will be beneficial in your pursuit of happiness. Once you are more self-aware, then you can start focusing in on those problems and trying to figure out if they're ones that you want to solve or if they're ones that you should ditch, and then start figuring out which ones you want to start aiming for. To do that, you have to realize how you measure failure and success. Do you measure failure or success by the amount of money you're making? Are you making more money than your parents were at this age? Or do you measure failure and success based upon the relationships that you have a loving family? It's important to figure out what metrics matter to you. And then once you realize those metrics, whether it is making a ton of money or whether it is building relationships, then you're going to be able to figure out the problems that you want to solve based on your end goals. You are empowered when you get to choose the problems that you're facing in your life. I know that is so true for me. When I was a kid, my mom and my dad would always tell me to do certain things. They would say, take out the trash, clean your room, wash the dishes, which are things that I should be doing as a good son, and I'm glad they instilled that in me. However, if they would have asked me, I would have been more willing to do so. And I think this is going to be a part of my parenting style when I reach that stage in my life. If they would have just asked, Andrew, could you take out the trash? I now have the decision as a kid, you don't really have the decision if your parents tell you to take out the trash. But it reframes the situation by asking the question and now making me think that I do have a say in the outcome and the problem that I'm going to be facing now. So if they do ask me, Andrew, would you take out the trash for me? I do have 2 options. I could say yes or I could say no. But if I do now have that choice, I'm going to be much more invested in actually completing the task at hand. So then I'll say yes, and I'll feel, all right, now I have a part to play in this little interaction, so I'm more willing to do it and more willing to invest the time to go take out the trash for my family. This is also important for people in leadership positions because you have to get your followers and your team involved in this process. You want them to have ownership. You want them to have a choice so that they become more ready for the difficult journey at hand. There's one more piece that I want to talk about here, and then we'll get to the conclusion of the book and my final thoughts. Listen to this. We individually are responsible for everything in our lives, no matter the external circumstances. We always control how we interpret what happens to us as well as how we respond, even though we don't always control what happens to us. That is insane, and if you can grasp this concept, it changes the way that you think about life and potentially live your life. Let's go through a scenario very quickly. There's an example in this chapter about somebody that gets kicked out of a band, and then the band goes on to become extremely successful. So for the guy that gets kicked out of the band, of course, it sucks. You're going to be depressed, then you see them go off, have an amazing career. That can be crushing. However, he did not have an option or control over the group kicking him out of the band. That was their choice, and he had no say in it. However, he has absolute control over his own reality and how he reacts to that situation. Yeah, it's totally normal for us to feel bad, to be sad, to get angry in those types of situations. But you have the power to change how you feel, to get motivated to go out and to do something better with your life, to change the problems that you're facing, to realize how you measure failure and success. If you can reframe how you ultimately measure where you want to be in life, to what will make you happy, then you can start figuring out the problems that you're excited to solve. Because if you realize right now, not being in that band doesn't make me happy, but I was in the band because I wanted to create music that I love. That's the focus. So you need to change how you're emotionally reacting to that situation of getting kicked out of the band so that you can start solving and pursuing those problems that will ultimately make you happy of making music that you love. And heck yes, it's super difficult. It's so hard after you get broken up with by somebody that you thought you may end up spending the rest of your life with. There are going to be at least a couple of weeks where you're going to be sitting on your couch eating ice cream. That's okay. That's part of the recovery process. But you need to realize that you need to bounce back. But once you've finished all of those pints of ice creams, you need to get back on your feet and look at your target, where you want to be, how you measure success, and then find those problems that will help carry you there, that you're happy to start solving again. Now, once you finish those pints of ice cream, you're going to have to sit down and find that motivation to go do something productive. Yes, that is difficult, but you don't have to just find that motivation or pull it out of thin air, because action leads to motivation. It's like this. If you have a boulder that's sitting at the top of a hill, it's going to take some effort to push it off, and it's pretty large, so you're like, wow, I don't want to do this. And it's tough to find the motivation to go do it. However, if you just say, all right, whatever, I'm just going to go start doing this, and I'm going to push this boulder. You have that action. You push that boulder, and it starts to roll down the hill. And then you see, wow, awesome, I'm accomplishing my goal. Let's keep doing this. I can handle this. It's not as bad as I thought. Because action leads to motivation. That is the perfect analogy, because once you start something, you start realizing, wow, I can do this. This is pretty cool. I'm accomplishing these little goals. I'm getting small wins. So that action will help spur you forward and just keep building that momentum of motivation for you. I can tell you that's absolutely true, because as an entrepreneur, you have to have that self-motivation to go out there and to build a company, sometimes on your own. And it can be absolutely tough, but if you just sit down and start working, you realize, wow, I'm accomplishing stuff and it feels great. Ultimately, with this book, if I'm going to recommend it to you, I would say at least read the last chapter. The final chapter, for me, is the most important piece of this book. Mark tells a story of where he's climbing some rocks at the southern tip of South Africa, and he gets to the very top before everybody else, and he's standing on essentially the edge of the world. And he sees there's a massive cliff, and he can see down. If you fall off, you essentially die. And he starts to get closer to it. He's 10 feet away. And he sees the edge. He starts to get a little closer, and his body starts to tense up a little bit. It's becoming more aware that he's getting toward the edge of a cliff, and he would instantly die if he fell off. And he keeps getting closer. Now he's 5 feet away. His hands start to get a bit clammy, but he keeps going. He keeps itching towards the edge. And now he's close enough. If he trips, he'll end up falling off the ledge. And he gets close where his feet are standing right at the tip of this ledge, with death right there, right on the doorstep. One wrong sway, one fall, one massive gust of wind would end his life. It's almost like there was some magnet built into his human nature, pulling him back to the safest area, getting away from the ledge. That feeling that Mark gets, that we all get when you're standing on a ledge and you know if you fall off, it's game over. That feeling, do we ever feel that in other scenarios when we don't do something because we're scared? If you're in an airport, you're walking by, you see a cute girl, and you're too scared to go up and ask her for her number. Do you feel the same way that you would feel standing on a ledge? Absolutely not, of course. Sure, your heart rate might go up a little bit if you're trying to make the decision or not of whether you're going to go up and talk to her. But that fear, it's nothing comparable to that of standing on the edge of a cliff. The fear of trying to start your own business, quitting your job, going off on your own. That fear is not comparable to the fear of standing on the edge of a cliff. So why the heck Are you not doing the things that you want to do that will make you happy? There's no way that you're going to end up having that same type of fear that you would facing death. So why are you stalling and not doing the things that you want to do? Because you're a little bit afraid of the outcome. Let me tell you what, you're not going to die by going and asking that girl for her number. You're not going to die if you go out and try to start your own business. Just remember, you have to figure out what your end goal is going to be, what's going to ultimately make you happy, so that you can choose the problems that are going to end up making you reach that goal. Because if your goal is to start a family and have kids, at some point, you're going to have to go approach a girl. If you want to have a successful business career where you've started your own company, at some point you're going to have to make the decision to go off and actually try to start a business. In closing, at the very end of this book, I wrote something that I want you to check out. That says, "Live. Death is on the horizon." I was inspired to write that down at the end of this book because it's true. Death could be right around the corner. As soon as I finish recording this video, tomorrow, in 2 weeks. So why the heck am I not doing the things, trying to solve the problems that I care about that will ultimately lead me to happiness? Ultimately, that's what I want you to take away from this video. Know that death could be right around the corner for any one of us. So don't be complacent. Don't let fear stop you from doing the things that you want to do. Go out there and live your life. Find the problems that you're willing to solve so that you can enjoy the journey and ultimately reach your goal of being and living a happy life. Because honestly, for me, if I don't end up living a happy life, if I look back and say, wow, I wish I would have done that, then I know I've messed up. So my goal is to end up on my deathbed and say, you know what? I've done everything that I've wanted to do in this life. I have no regrets. Heck yes, I've made some mistakes, I've struggled, but ultimately, everything that I've done has added up to an amazing experience. And that is what I wish for every single one of you. And that's why this book is an important start, so that you can get that self-awareness, so that you can realize you need to maybe adjust your barometer of success and failure. Whew! All right, that was one intense book, but it was pretty good. And like I said, if anything, at least go read that last chapter, so it will inspire you to go off and live your best life. I am on Goodreads. It's an app that you can get where you can follow along all of the books that I'm reading, what I'm going to be reading, and what I've already read, so that we can have more of a discussion, and you can even recommend some books that I should be reading next. But thank you all for joining me on this episode of The Book Club. I'm having tons of fun reading, and I hope you are too. And I'm excited to hear what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below, so be sure to do that. And I will see you in the next episode of The Book Club with a brand new book to discuss. Looking forward to it. I'll see you there.